It was a sweaty Friday night in Miami, Florida, the kind where the heat wraps around you like a lover's breath. Pulse Fitness, Jason Statham's high-end gym, was buzzing, weights clanging, spin bikes humming, hip-hop pulsing through the speakers. The gym's sleek bar, tucked in a corner, served protein shakes and craft beers to sweaty clients winding down. Trainers in black Pulse tees roamed the floor, shouting hype, but for 24-year-old Lena Ortiz, the night wasn't about the grind. She was behind the bar, wiping down the counter, her heart heavy, fighting back tears no one noticed. Years ago, Statham had opened Pulse, not as some glitzy side hustle to flaunt his fame, but as a real-deal passion project. He'd spent years picking the best gear, hiring trainers who lived for fitness, making sure his gym was a spot where regular folks and pro athletes could push their limits side by side. But Statham knew no gym, no matter how packed or profitable, ran smooth just because the numbers looked good on paper. The real truth of a place wasn't in membership stats or shiny equipment. It was in the staff room whispers, the exhausted slump of trainers after a double shift, the stuff nobody put in a report. That's why, every few months, he made a habit of slipping into Pulse like a ghost. No big entrance, no announcement, just a guy in a hoodie and cap, stepping into his own business like any other client. That night, the gym was alive. Barbells crashed, shakers rattled, and the bar was slammed with orders for mango smoothies and ibis. At first glance, everything was tight, clients sweating, trainers coaching, energy high. But Statham's instincts were sharp, honed from years dodging punches on screen and off. He clocked the bar first, where Lena poured drinks with a practiced smile, her dark eyes catching the light, a subtle curve to her movements that drew glances from clients. She was good at her job, but something was off. Her hands shook slightly. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. He didn't expect what came next. Statham slid onto a bar stool, blending in, just another guy grabbing a drink. "Whiskey, neat," he said, voice low, his cap shading his face. Lena nodded, barely looking up, her fingers brushing his as she slid the glass over. The touch lingered a second too long, a spark neither acknowledged, but it was there, warm and fleeting. As he reached for his wallet to pay, it slipped, hitting the floor. A few cards scattered, along with a folded photo that landed face up at Lena's feet. She bent to pick it up, her breath catching. Her hand froze, her pulse hammering. It was her mother, Rosa Ortiz, younger, radiant, laughing in a sundress on a Miami beach, her hair wild in the wind, her eyes alight with something Lena had never seen. Lena had no memory of this photo, no clue where it was taken. She looked up, her voice a whisper. "Where'd you get this?" Statham froze, his eyes locking on hers, a flicker of pain crossing his face. Not recognition, but something deeper, raw. "Her name was Rosa," he said softly. "Rosa Ortiz." Lena's stomach flipped. "You knew my mom?" He didn't answer right away, reaching down to take the photo, his fingers brushing hers again, the contact sending a shiver through her. He held the image like it was fragile, his thumb tracing its edge. "She never told me she had a kid," he murmured, almost to himself. Lena's chest tightened, a mix of anger and something else, curiosity, maybe, or the pull of his quiet intensity. Why would she? She snapped, pulling her hand back. "You're some action star." She was a nurse, a single Latina mom scraping by. He didn't argue, just looked at the photo one last time before folding it back into his wallet, like it belonged there. "I didn't know," he said again, his voice rough. Then he stood, left a $50 bill on the bar, and walked out without another word. The gym's noise roared back, but Lena stood frozen, the image of her mom in his wallet seared into her mind. Her coworker, JV, offered to cover her shift. She barely nodded, grabbed her bag, and bolted. Lena's apartment was a cramped studio off Loco, where the walls hummed with neighbors' music and the air smelled of fried plantains. She sat on her bed, staring at the cedar box her mom left behind when she died 3 years ago. Inside were faded Polaroids, a silver cross, a hospital ID from Lena's birth, and a journal with no mention of a man like him. Rosa had been private, her answers about Lena's dad always vague. Some roads don't need walking. But now that road was wide open, and Lena couldn't sleep. The next day, she dragged herself to work, hoping it was a fluke. But at 9 p.m., he was back, same hoodie, same stool, same silence. She passed him to JV, avoiding his gaze, but felt the weight of his presence, the way his eyes lingered on her, not pushy, just waiting. He came the 3rd day, then the 4th, ordering a whiskey each time, tipping heavy, saying nothing. On the 5th day, JV handed her an envelope with her name in sharp black ink. No address, just Lena. She almost tossed it, but her hands betrayed her, tearing it open. Inside was a letter, handwritten steady. Lena, I don't expect you to trust me. Your mom was everything. I met her when I was a nobody, before the films, before the spotlight. I was a stuntman in Miami, banged up from a bad fall. She was a nurse, working nights at Jackson Memorial. She had this laugh, this fire, that made me feel I could be more than a guy taking hits for a living. I loved her, but I was young, scared. My career was kicking off, and I bailed. I told myself I'd come back, but when I did, she was gone. I didn't know about you. If I had, I'd have been there. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just a chance to tell you her story. Jason. Lena read it 3 times, her throat tight, tears spilling. Jason. Not Statham, but Jason, the name her mom might have known. It hit her, Jason Statham's real name, the one buried under his fame. She clutched the letter, memories of her mom flooding back Rose's late shifts, her soft humming, the way she'd dance in the kitchen, her hips swaying to salsa, a spark in her eyes Lena hadn't understood. Had that been for him? The letter didn't feel like a Hollywood script. It was raw, flawed, real. She wanted to hate him, but the words rang true, and the photo in his wallet, her mom, alive, laughing, felt like proof. That night, she dug through the cedar box again, finding a faded photo tucked in a journal's back page. Rosa, maybe 25, on a pier, leaning into a man with a shaved head, sharp jaw, and eyes that matched Statham's. His arm was around her, their bodies close, her head tilted against his chest, a moment so intimate it made Lena's breath catch. On the back, in Rose's neat script, my strength. Always, Lena pressed the photo to her heart, tears falling. For years, she'd thought her dad was a ghost, a blank space. But this was love, real, messy, lost. The next morning, she didn't go to work. She called JV to cover, then drove to Coconut Grove, to the small churchyard where Rosa was buried. The grass was patchy, the headstone simple. Lena knelt, tracing the engraved name. Mama, she whispered, he's here. He loved you. Why didn't you tell me? The wind answered, soft and warm, like Rose's touch. That evening, when Statham walked into Pulse, Lena was waiting at his stool, 2 beers ready. She sat across from him, the bar quiet, the gym's noise a distant hum. Neither spoke at first, the air charged, her eyes catching the way his jaw tensed, the faint scar above his brow. This yours? She asked, sliding the pier photo across the counter. His fingers hesitated, then touched it, like it might burn. God, he said, voice low. We spent that day at Key Biscayne. She kept stealing my sunglasses, laughing like it was the best heist ever. Lena's lips twitched, a faint smile. She loved the beach. Always dragged me there, said it made her feel free. Statham nodded, his gaze softening, and for a moment, their shared memory felt like a bridge. She never told me about my dad, Lena said, her voice steady but sharp. Said some paths weren't worth chasing. He looked at her, eyes wet. She was shielding you from me, from the guy who ran when it got real. My agent said a kid, a girlfriend, it'd kill my shot at the big time. I listened, and I lost her. Lena's jaw tightened. And she raised me alone, working doubles, never complaining. Statham exhaled heavy. I tried to find her, years later, when I had something to give. But she'd left Miami, no trace. I didn't know about you. Lena sipped her beer, studying him, the way his hands fidgeted, the quiet strength in his frame, the hint of cologne that stirred something in her, a fleeting pull she pushed down. What now? She asked. You want a daughter? A family photo op? He shook his head. I don't deserve that. I just want a chance to know you. No cameras, no bullshit. Just us. The air between them crackled, not just with words, but with the weight of his gaze, the way he leaned closer, his voice a low rumble. Lena felt it, a spark, not love, but something alive, confusing. She broke eye contact, focusing on the photo. You're not what I expected, she said. No ego, no big speech, he chuckled, a sound that warmed the space. Left that on the set last month, she smirked, the tension easing. Before he left, he pulled the beach photo from his wallet, sliding it to her. Keep this. It's yours too. She held it, noticing the worn edges, proof he'd carried her mom all these years. You never let her go, she said softly. Never could, he admitted, his eyes holding hers, a moment too long, too heavy with unspoken things. She looked away, her pulse quickening, the air too warm. That night, in her apartment, Lena stood by her window, the photo glowing under a lamp. Rose's laugh, her sundress, the way she leaned into him, it was a world Lena hadn't known, but it felt real. She wasn't ready to call him dad, but the ache of silence was fading. 2 weeks passed. Statham didn't show, maybe giving her space, maybe back in L.A. Some nights, she traced her mom's smile in the photo, feeling the softness Rosa had hidden. One evening, as rain tapped her window, Lena scrolled her phone, landing on a contact, Jason. Not dad, too soon, maybe forever. Her thumb hovered, then pressed call. He answered fast. Lena, his voice was quiet, like he'd been waiting. Hey, she said, unsure. Silence hung, delicate, not heavy. I want to know more, she said finally. About her, about you too. I'll be there tomorrow, he said, no hesitation. They met at Matheson Hammock Park, where Rosa used to take Lena to watch the sunset. Statham showed up in a gray tee, kept low, his frame lean and strong, a quiet magnetism she couldn't ignore. They sat by the water, mangroves rustling. He told her about meeting Rosa in a hospital break room, her sneaking him coffee after a stunt injury, her teasing his bad dance moves at a club. She moved like she owned the place, he said, smiling. Didn't care I was nobody, Lena nodded. She danced at home too, salsa, hips going wild. They laughed, and for a moment, she felt Rosa there, her fire alive. Did you love her? Lena asked, voice soft. He didn't flinch. More than I knew how to handle. My career was kicking off, and I got scared. Thought I had to choose. I chose wrong. Lena's throat tightened. She carried it all, me, the bills, the silence. He nodded, guilt in his eyes. I've carried that mistake every day. They sat, the weight of truth settling, not as anger, but as understanding. Lena stood, walking the shore. He followed, their steps in sync. "You want to be in my life?" she asked. "However you'll have me," he said, his voice steady, his closeness stirring that spark again, a warmth she didn't want to name. "No movies, no fame," she warned. He grinned, a flash of charm. "Just me." They spent the next weeks talking over Cuban sandwiches at her favorite spot, watching Rose's old videos, her laughing with baby Lena. Statham cried quietly, and Lena felt her walls soften. One day, he brought a small silver ring, etched with "Forever my fire." "She gave me this," he said, "before I left. It's yours now." Lena slipped it on, the metal warm like Rose's touch. "Thanks for coming back," she said. He nodded. "Thanks for letting me." That night, Lena sat on her balcony, Miami's lights flickering below, the ring glinting. She thought of Rose's sacrifices, her hidden love, and the man trying to be more than a shadow. She wasn't ready for Dad, but she wasn't alone anymore. Some stories don't end neatly, they unfold, one quiet moment at a time, and Lena was ready to write hers.